My name is Zach Mbasu. Welcome and thank you for taking the time to join in this session. In this video, I will share evidence on how real-time data supported improvement of learning quality in rural Kenya. Whizz education enables communities around the world to reach their full potential through individualized learning. We believe that every child deserves a learning experience that caters to their individual needs and pace of learning. Since 2004, we have partnered with schools and virtually tutored over 1 million students across the globe. Whizz Tutor uses artificial intelligence to simulate the most effective behavior of a human tutor. As students are interacting with virtual tutor, the system is automatically generating live learning data. We have taken those learning insights and transformed the way education is experienced. This is an example of a student learning profile. Notice all the different topics along the side. The gray bars up to the red mark shows you where this student is placed at the initial assessment on Whizz. The first thing that a tutor does is that it assesses the student in all those topics and tries to pinpoint where his or her knowledge level is. We quantify this using a metric called Maths Edge. If you look at the gray bars, you will notice that this student has a very jagged profile edge with different strengths and weaknesses. The tutor prioritizes topics and lessons based on this student's specific needs. The student will get more attention in mental calculation and will continually update and adapt to these needs. You can see the impact that the tutor has had on this student learning by looking at those blue bars. They show you how much this student has improved in each of those topics. The student has a much more rounded learning profile with solid foundations across the board after improving in each of those topics. I am going to take you through one of our implementations in rural Kenya to show you how we have used the data that comes out of the tutor to uplift the way math is taught. Since 2015, Whizz Education has worked to improve the learning and teaching of mathematics in 205 primary schools in Kenya through an exciting project called This was a DFID-backed initiative and we worked with other partners to deliver learning through ICT. The Whizz virtual tutor was integrated in these classrooms through a blended learning approach that combined offline and online instruction to maximize learning outcomes. Teachers were empowered to course-correct the instruction based on real-time data and data-driven insights available to them through students' interaction with an online tutoring platform. This graph shows how our progress rates evolved over the past few years on Imlango project. Back in 2015, in the early stages of the implementation of the project, the students had an annual progress rate of 0.68. These students were losing out on 32% of the core knowledge and skills that we expected them as mathematicians. In absence of Whizz intervention, students were making an annual progress rate of 0.58, which was our baseline. So even in the early stages of implementation, we saw an increase of learning rate to the tune of 10 percentage points. As we progressed over the years, this learning rate increased gradually, bringing them up to speed with international standards and benchmark for the same amount of effort. These gains are as a direct result of Whizz's pioneering approach to monitoring and evaluation, in which real-time learning data is paired with in-field observations to drive continuous course corrections to product and program design. We regulated initial assessments to ensure accuracy of students' profiles. We introduced lab scheduling in schools for students to make the most out of Whizz Tutor. We conducted comprehensive centralized training for teachers. We localized Swahili version of Whizz Tutor, and lastly, we systemized real-time data sharing with schools. In 2019, the students in rural Kenya who managed to get onto Whizz Tutor for recommended amount of time was actually achieving a progress rate of 1.47. That is more than double the baseline and in line with our international standards. Our data shows that these interventions informed by real-time data resulted in doubling of learning rates among students, bringing them up to speed with international standards. In 2020, nationwide school closures in Kenya during COVID-19 pandemic led to several months of lost learning potential as students lacked access to structured learning support at home, which has been quantified by the Whizz platform. Our sample of 965 students showed an average maths age of 9.28 on March 2020 and 8.98 at reassessment, pointing to an overall average learning loss in excess of 3.5 months. Those students exhibited an average loss of 1.1 years, or just over 13 months. A higher proportion of students exhibited learning loss in lower grades. In fact, there is a clear downward trend from grade 4 to grade 8. A slightly higher proportion of boys showed learning loss compared to girls, but losses were more pronounced for girls. Economically disadvantaged students in Kilifi and Kajiado experienced greater learning loss than their peers in other counties. What we have is the kind of learning analytics that virtual MathWiz tutor feeds us, the day-to-day realities that are playing out on the ground, and when you combine your learning data with story that is playing out on the ground, you arrive at true learning insights, insights that you can act upon to improve teaching and learning. Over the years, we've made countless incremental improvements to our product, to our service, the way we train our teachers, and this has been possible because we have real-time learning data that speaks to us in real time, and we can interrogate all of our assumptions and hold everyone involved in those changes to account. Students' learning progress is continuously monitored as a byproduct of students' learning. This provided us with unique insight on what is working or not, allows us to make adjustments and improvements to the project implementation. MathWiz has provided a wealth of data about students' learning path as well as tracking outcomes. Thoughtful incorporation of this data into improvement circles have helped instructors identify issues such as cases where students are not engaging with learning frequently enough to attain learning goals. Through these continuous improvements to the program design, we have observed more than doubling of student rates of learning when they are given sustained access to personalized learning with MathWiz Tutor.